Quick tip to question. Question tips.
Question tips.
So this is 4 days. Me and Becky are getting together for 4 days, the next 4 days.
Yeah.
With quick tips on questions.
Yeah, which sounds that's an interesting topic, but you know, like we've always had these conversations on like going to another level with like asking questions. Like, how many questions are you asking? Right?
Well, so most people don't know how to question because we've been trained really early on in our lives. I mean, most of our programming and conditioning and teaching in school has been to find the answer, and that it's almost wrong to ask a question. So I remember being in school, and like if I didn't understand something, I didn't want to put my hand up and ask a question because then I would look like I'm stupid, and then I would look like everybody else knew what we were doing, but I was the one who was behind and I was the one who was slow. So I was constantly pretending, at least I thought I was pretending that I had the answer when really I actually didn't. I had questions, but I never felt like I could ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a huge one that starts in school. And so I actually have, it started early on, even before that for me, where growing up, I was the youngest. Well, you have a big family too, a lot of siblings.
Yeah.
And I was actually the youngest and I had 2 older brothers. So my brothers like really, really meant a lot to me when I was little. I mean, like I remember like just wanting to please them, even though I would do really irritating stuff, but I think more of the irritating stuff was to get their attention. And I had these specific memories of like watching TV with them and watching movies, and they literally be like, "Mom, if she does not shut up, she has to leave." And because I asked so many questions. And it really, because I was looking at this the other day for me, really like when, you know, because when you're a little kid, you ask a million questions. And I was like, I wonder, you know, for me, I was like, I wonder when I really kind of stopped, you know, being that like just explosion of questions. And I got this, like these fun memories of really being young. And I wanted to make my brothers happy. So I would shut up. And I remember even like bottling it up, like I was ready to explode because I had no clue what was going on. And I wanted to like spit fire these questions. But if I wanted to be in the room with them, I had to be quiet.
Interesting. So how old were you? Like everyone could ask yourself right now, how old were you when you stopped asking questions? Wow.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's why I said it started before school. Like I would probably have been like maybe 6, 7.
Yeah. So you could just like look at, okay, everything that is, everywhere I gave up asking questions to keep other people happy and to fit into other people's realities, can we destroy and uncreate it?
Yeah. Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pack, only shirts, boys, me ends. And so, you know, one of the, like, so we're talking about asking questions is a massive part of what Access Consciousness is about. Yeah. And it's something that we naturally come into the world with. Like Becky, you talked about, like you naturally just questioned everything as a child, but then you were told, shut up, you're being too much, you're annoying, you know.
Well, and that's the key, you're being too much. Like if you're being too much, when I was talking about it, like I literally was an explosion. I remember just being so intense, like this explosion of just like, and I want to say possibilities because questions do create, you know, like these like, well, what's this? Why is this happening? What's going on here? But I want to know. And it was just like, and so I really don't know if it was really my voice talking the questions, but it was really that being too much.
Being too much, yeah. And so, and then when you get to school and you ask too many questions, it's projected that, you know, you're slow or you're stupid or, you know, you need to get the answer. So we've been trained really well to not ask question, to get the answer. Or if you're going to ask a question, you need to have an answer.
Yeah. And then how much of that is like the order and the form and the structure and the control of the teachers? Everybody can't talk at once. So then you learn, like, you have to control all of that, to speak out, like there's these interesting increments that start taking place that just,
Well, and it's also like, so like the teacher has also had the same programming where the teacher was told as a child, you need to get the answer. If you don't have the answer, you're not right. And it all comes back to us trying to be right and not be wrong. And the whole purpose of a question, when we start taking classes with Access Consciousness, we start learning, actually, the purpose of a question is to get awareness, not to find the answer.
Yeah.
And so, it's like the opposite of everything we've been taught. So it's a total mind melt at the start when you start going, oh, you ask a question, but you don't look for the answer.
Yeah.
So our tip really is like question, not answer. Like, how many times a day do you ask a question, but do you still look for the answer?
Yeah. Or the question you're asking actually is not a question. It's really a statement. Like, did you clean your room? To my kid, like, did you clean your room? And you're like, that is not a question, right? Like, that's like, you didn't clean your room. Are you cleaning your room? Like, you're going to clean your room. I mean, and that's just like an example of like maybe what a mom does, but like how many then have we like really confused that actually what is a true like question that, when you ask a true question, it creates the awareness, and then awareness creates possibilities, choice in your life.
And also, like, true question is when you're coming from, it's the space that you're coming from. So it's like what you said, like, did you clean your room? Isn't a question. It's got like a whole load of energy attached to it, like accusation, like assumption, conclusion. Did you clean your room? You've already concluded that your child hasn't cleaned their room. So you're not actually asking them a question. You're putting a question.
Did nothing, right? Like, how many are married or have boyfriends or have husbands, or the opposite, you're a man and you have all that, and you're like, what'd you do today? That is, like, is that a question?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do today? But like, how many, like, how much are you aware of? That's like a loaded question. That's
Question.
like almost a conclusion is, you do nothing. Now explain to me what you do all day.
Yeah, and that puts people into defense. So really a true question is a question where you're coming from the space. It's the space that you be with the question. So the space, like, you as a child maybe would have been like, what is that?
Yeah. You're like,
what is that? I wonder. Yeah. Like, or, if I choose this, what would this create? And you start to go with the energy rather than, oh, if I eat this cake, then I'm going to be put on weight, then I'm going to be fat, like all the conclusions we lump onto these things rather than, would this be fun? What can I choose today? Who does this belong to? And that's another one people really struggle with at the start. Question to create more awareness. If you feel something, ask, who does this belong to? Not so you can find out who it belongs to, but so you can get more awareness around what's yours, what's not, what's light, what's heavy, what you're aware of, what you're perceiving. It's kind of a lot of information, but a lot of it's energetic as well. So you've got to be willing to let go of your mind, just a small bit.
Well, and like, why are we even talking about this? Well, question, like what we said, like, actually creates possibilities in your life. And I am a true believer in ask and you shall receive. So everything that you speak, that you do, creates. And are you creating your future? And how can you create your future? Well, it's simple. Questions. By asking a question, like, wow, what do I desire? What would I desire to create? what would I desire to, like to have in my life? And a question is really being then in, like the kingdom of we, because whenever you're in question, you're in the creation of possibilities, of futures, of generating your life. And yeah.
So if you were brand new, Becky, like you've never heard of access consciousness before, you've never heard of asking questions, the only time you've been told about questions is to get an answer, how would you like start? What would be like something you could start to start changing that? Like,
what I love about that question, so, because I really got, talking about these questions really is for everybody. Like this is a tool that anybody can use. It doesn't matter like your religion, your sex, it doesn't matter your beliefs, like this is like a basic tool that you can put in your, like your toolkit to empower you to know what you know. And that's one thing that we're never taught. We're never taught that you actually, can know what you know. But speaking from the beginning, even for me, like I grew up I went to a Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, and asking you shall receive was always spoke about, and people can grasp that for some reason. It's like one of those universal laws that have been around, I'm sure, for a very long time. And so if you're new to any of this, if you're wondering why I would even ask a question, even if you can look at the asking, you shall receive, but are you asking a question? Is it, because that's what we already brought up. Like, so first of all, is it a question that you're asking? And so these are some fun tips to really look at, because how many times have you been like, I want this for my birthday, I want this, and it's going on in your head, and you automatically assume everybody around you should just know what you want, because they should just know, but you don't ask, and you don't, say, hey, I'd like this for my birthday, but because you just assume. So one would be like, are you even asking a question? And because asking you shall receive works.
So what's an example of a question you could start with if you're not used to asking questions?
What question can I ask here?
Cute.
Like, what if it was that simple? Because I think I think we like to complicate things. And what if it was even like, if you had no idea what you actually, I think one of the great things though is to really like, I am a total humanoid, and I love to generate and create nonstop. So if you're like, hey, Becky, can you help me? I'm like, yeah. And you ask me a question like, oh, you could do this, like all these possibilities actually are so easily to pop. But one thing that I've been playing with me is what do I actually desire to create?
I like that. So that's another question you can also take away with you from today's tips on asking questions is, what do I desire to create here?
Yeah.
I like asking what would be fun for me today? What would be fun right now? I also really like to ask what would nurture me and my body right now?
Yeah.
So, and those questions, so like I'll say, what would nurture me, my body right now? I don't go into my head to look for the answer. I don't go, okay, let me figure out now what will nurture me today. I more just put the question out there and then let it percolate, like, and maybe nothing comes right away, but maybe then I just get a little hit and go, oh, I'd like to go for a bath. Or, oh, my body kind of shows me, sometimes my body might just give me a little image, like, here's an image.
Yeah.
Rollerblading or a walk out in nature, but it might not come right away. Yeah. And so that's the thing, ask a question and allow there to be a bit of space there without having to try and figure out the answer.
Yeah, you don't actually have to go to the doing. What am I going to do now to create that? And sometimes things show up, and just like that, like miracles. Like, what if people do know what a miracle is? You can't explain them, because there's nothing logical. It's like trying to explain, how something miraculous happens, and you're just like, wow, I don't know. There's no words to put, but we actually witness them a lot and nonstop. And it's really the same thing, like having that nonstop. It's the coolest thing. Like, you ask, and so maybe even if today you're just like, hey, like, what question can I ask? what questions, can I ask here? And am I asking questions? Like, what if it's really just getting clear? Because sometimes like there's a lot of times where we're just throwing statements out and we're actually just telling stories. We're telling stories about like what's going on in our life. We're telling stories about our past. And are you asking questions? And what if you just added a couple questions? I wonder what would actually show up.
That's brilliant. I added the questions in the thread for people.
Oh, cool.
So hi, Urasta. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Maya. Hi, Den. Hi, Fabiola. I'm so bad at pronouncing her name. Fabiola.
Oh, yay. That's
Melissa,
like a party waiting to
Shelley.
happen.
So that's our tips for today. We're going to be on tomorrow again to give more tips on asking questions. Urada says, what else is possible? Always helps to open space for more possibilities. Yes.
Always.
When you come from that space of what else is possible, when you don't just give lip service to the question, because sometimes you could be like, yeah, what else is possible, but like have no energy in it.
Yeah.
So really, like you said, being aware of the space that you are when you ask the question. Like, what else is possible from wonder and curiosity?
Yeah. Yay.
Okay. We'll be on
right.
again this time tomorrow on my business page. And then Wednesday and Thursday will be on Becky's page.
How fun.
Bye.
Bye, guys.